Okay, well, I'm going to say welcome, everyone. I think we might be up and operational. As always, it is so hard to tell on these things. If you're there and you can hear us and see us, we would love it if you dropped a coffee break, a hashtag coffee break into the chat. We'll get started in basically 1 minute. Okay, let's see. All right, I think we are ready to go. So welcome. I am Lisa Raish. I am the construction CPA, and welcome to the Construction CPA Coffee Cafe. We are going to be talking about job costing today, and I know everyone's very, very excited about that. But in construction, it's actually really, really important, not only for, again, to determine whether you're profitable, but really understanding your job costing helps to speak to how you in the future do any kind of any forecasting, as well as any of your bidding or your quoting or anything in the future. So really job costing kind of is a foundational tool that you need to have in your in your company's toolbox. So from my notes, I'm going to read you the definition. So job costing is a method of tracking and allocating expenses to specific projects or jobs, providing a detailed breakdown of costs for each individual undertaking. So again, I know it's a definition, but what exactly does that mean? You're going to do a job. You're going to do a roof job, a deck job. You're going to build a house. What are the costs associated with doing that project? And in most cases, you're going to want to have that project probably broken down into kind of subcategories too. So if you're building a house, you're going to have job costing and you're going to have subcategories of your job costing. Probably going to have a foundation category, a framing category, finish work, plumbing, heating, electricity, right? All of those are going to be job costed, right? You're going to determine in your estimate what you think it's going to cost. And then as you are incurring your expenses, you are basically kind of compiling them and matching them up against what you estimated. And on a really high level, that's what you need to do in order to kind of track your jobs. So there are a number of things to think about that are really key in job costing. So you're going to have direct costs and indirect costs. And first, direct and indirect costs are not specific to construction. It's common in all industries, but becomes very important in construction, especially when you are building out your quotes or your bids for your jobs to determine, to ensure that you're profitable. So your direct costs, what are those? Those are simply the ones directly related to your project. The materials. If you're building a house, was it the concrete for the foundation? Is it, if you're doing a stick build, is it the 2x4s and the 2x6s, right? Those are your direct costs. Where people get kind of thrown off is the item that they don't consider when they're doing any of their projections, their bidding, is your indirect costs. What are the indirect costs? Those are the things that are indirectly related to the project. So for instance, construction, many of you have trucks. You're going to the job site with your truck. Is there a payment on that truck? That's an indirect cost. Is there insurance on that truck? That's an indirect cost. Do you have workers' comp on your team? That's an indirect cost, right? Those are the things, and that's not specific to construction. If you were in the type of business where you were building, you had inventory and you were creating a product, it's the same thing. Let's use our widget example, right? We use that all the time in accounting. If you're building that widget, it's not just the cost of making the widget and the individual to build it. If they're building it in your factory, you're going to have indirect costs related to that factory, right? That's the same concept. It's just we're kind of putting that concept onto construction, but it's not specific to construction. It's something common across all industries. You're going to have your material and your labor costs. Again, a very large portion of your job costing is going to be that. But you want to be able to break down the various materials and even the labor into the various functions in that project. And then you'll have your overhead expenses. Again, there'll be costs associated with running your business. Many of you are One of the things that a lot of our clients are using, they're using various technology tools now, right? So again, those are all overhead. You're using those kind of in the overall part of your business. You're using your job costing. A lot of them are software tools, right? Things like that. So it's really important to be really specific when you're doing your estimating or your bidding or your quoting, because you want to be able to have those very specific items. You'll have your project broken down into pieces. And as you are incurring the expenses, you want to match up the expenses to those specific categories and line items to ensure that you are in line with what you projected. If you are building a house, I projected the construction or the foundation was going to be X. As you are putting that foundation in, are you going over that budget, right? Is it costing you more? If it's costing you more, why is it costing you more? Those are things that become just as important as knowing that you did go over. It's why, because is it something you can fix? Is it something you can fix on this job? Is it something that you need to be aware of for the next job that you estimate on? So again, having those categories and matching up your expenses. So being very precise when you're budgeting, down as small as you can get so that you can see where you're off and see if there are small places where you can fix. Again, it'll help you with overruns, right? You don't want to get to the end of a project and realize you went over budget. You'd like to be able to see that if that project takes you 8 months to build that house, you don't want to find out when you sold it that you in fact went over budget on it. You want to know that certain line items, if you did go over budget, you in fact know that. And so you know where and when you had those overruns. And again, it also ensures your profitability. If you are not specific, and in your estimating, and therefore not specific also with your costing and kind of matching your expenses up, it's not going to help you to be profitable. In many cases, you probably won't be profitable on a project, maybe not profitable on multiple projects, and therefore run into an overall significant cash crunch and profitability issue in your business. So again, what is it? The accurate budgeting, the accurate estimates, right? What does it help you? It helps you to allocate your resources properly, right? You want to be able to know that you're going to need team here, there. You're going to need this equipment here and there. It's important. You can't just have your team and your equipment kind of running amok from job to job. You want to be accurate in where you're going to need them on each of the specific jobs. Again, it helps you to actually plan the overall project. So if you're you can map out when and where you think things are going to happen on that. They're going to be typically the way you will know how the job is going to progress. And so week 1, you should be here. Week 5, you should be here. The end of month 2, you should be here, right? It helps you with that as well. And then mitigating any kind of risks also. So what are, again, some of the benefits? Again, it helps you to identify cost overruns, helps you to project your profitability. It really helps you to make informed decisions. You're not working blind. You're not just running around and just building houses and putting on decks and putting roofs on. You're actually really making decisions about the projects you want to do and don't want to do, right? You may find over time that there are projects that just aren't profitable. And then you now can make an informed decision, say, I'm not going to take projects like this anymore. They're just not profitable for us. And then it also helps, again, your planning and your scheduling, right? You don't just have your team running around from job to job. You know where they're going this week, next week, and so on. So we recommend, and a lot of our clients, again, are moving into a lot of electronic software application type of products to track their job costing. In many cases, this allows them to do this costing more real time, right? You can actually look to see the costs that were associated or applied against a job last week or the week before that, versus when you get to the end of the job. So again, it allows you to kind of choose the best methodology. And again, allocating the cost to specific projects. A lot of you are working multiple projects at a time. So, just because you bought, so much worth of materials from, the local distributor, doesn't mean they're all going to one job. So you want to make sure that, again, when you're allocating that little bit that went here, because that went to this job, that went to this job, this job. Again, now you want to be able to track your expenses and see exactly what's going on in each of the projects, not just kind of overall is wonderful, but you really need to see exactly what's going on each of the specific jobs. A lot of clients, again, like I mentioned, are using a software product. There are tons of them out there. There are so many, I can't even honestly at this point name them all. I mean, it really is going to be specific to what you do. So if you are a developer, if you are a residential developer, you might want a specific type of job costing product that not only allows you to kind of cost out all the aspects of the job, but it also maybe allows you the ability to give the client a client facing tool, right? Allows them to see the construction of their house going on, allows them to see pictures, allows you to communicate with them. If they have to ask you questions or they want to ask you questions, you do it in a tool like that. So you might have one specific type of product. If you are the type of company, maybe a plumbing or electrical company, and you're going to individual jobs every day, you go to my house today because I have a plumbing problem, and then you go to my neighbor's house, the next day because they've got something. Maybe you want something that your team member on, say, like an iPad or a tablet, will be able to access and assign costs to whatever, they're doing at that point. If they're pulling any materials out of their truck in order to do this job. So you've assigned the costs, but maybe that also gives you the ability to say, here's your invoice, right? When I'm done doing the repair job in your house, and you email it to me as the customer. And now I have that, that invoice in my hand right at that moment. So they've job costed it, but they've also invoiced the customer before they've even left the house. So that's a different type of system, right? So each of the systems that are out there are going to do different things. So you really need to find out exactly what you need in your business that's specific to you. Again, the digital tools are wonderful. If you have the type of business, again, that's kind of that real time, again, if people are coming to your home, if you're going to people's homes and you're doing those one-off jobs, right there in that tablet, right in their hand, really helps you to track instead of waiting a month or something before you invoice someone, or you figure out what materials your team member used in order to do that repair. That's all kind of like real time right there at that, today, right? End of day type of thing. So the technology, which hasn't necessarily been entirely embraced throughout all of construction, has found its way in, and there are some wonderful tools out there that truly can help you and save you time and improve your efficiency. So it's definitely something to think about, exploring using a product. Like anything else, there's going to be a ramp time, then you have to have buy-in. Everyone needs to be using it, but again, it could be a wonderful tool to truly help you out instead of get you out of those Excel spreadsheets. It also, those are the types of the apps, the softwares give you the ability to collaborate. Project managers can collaborate, with upper management, or actually have conversations with, finance and accounting as to like what's going on in the jobs. Because finance isn't just tracking the costs, in many cases, they're analyzing the expenses, looking to see where jobs are over or under, and having those conversations with the PMs. So those are the types of tools that allow the facilitation of those conversations. Like, hey, finance is saying, I think we're over here. What's going on with this? Oh, well, we ran into this. And again, now they have the ability to adjust any of the forecasting or any of the cash flow models that they're using, really to speak to what's going on in the business. So again, you'll get that collaboration between, management, project managers, as well as your finance and accounting. And it helps you to do regular updates and reviews. You want to be looking at what's going on in a project on a monthly basis, or even a weekly basis, depending on the volume and the size of a project. You don't want to wait until you get to the end to realize that you've gone over, or, something didn't go properly, or it's gone, the project has gone too long. Again, it allows you the ability to get out there and do those regular updates and reviews and get everybody involved what's going on, and then make the changes that you need to. One of the things that we spend a lot of time with clients on is really emphasizing the job costing, because it is so important. if you are working on a line, and it doesn't have to just be a larger job, it could be your smaller jobs too, because if you're doing a ton of small jobs and they're not profitable, you're just going to keep taking on small jobs that aren't profitable. It's the same thing if you're working on a larger job, a job that lasts 6, 8, 12, 18 months. Is the project running long? If it's running long, how are those costs affecting you? How is that affecting your cash flow? How's that going to affect the next job? Because now it's your cash is pinched from one job, but now that cash pinch affects another job that may or may not be profitable. Again, it's an ongoing process. It's not a set it and forget it. It's something that you need to review at the least on a monthly basis, depending on the type of work that you're doing. It's not really meant to be left. A lot of companies do what they call postmortems, and they look at a project when it's done, which is wonderful, but you really should be doing, the best case is to honestly be doing those reviews, weekly, monthly. And now you get to the end and you compare that postmortem against everything that's happened throughout. And now you, in some cases, you'll start to see patterns. You might find patterns in the way you've estimated and things, the way that you do things, maybe things that need to change. So certain functions in your business might need to change, the way that you attack a project, the way you do certain portions of a project. Those are the things, those conversations between management and finance and reviewing the numbers and actually understanding what's happened on the projects can really speak to how you can improve projects in the future, as well as improving your estimating. So I can't tell you how important it is to job costs and to manage your job costing on a regular basis. So if you have any questions, just drop a question in the chat. If you have any, we'd love to get back to you and answer anything you can. I will say there's 1,000 software products out there. So, you'll just have to find the best one that's, for best for you and best in your industry. But we would love to have you join our Facebook group. So, if you'd like, it is the Construction CPA Circle. So join our Facebook group. And if you did enjoy today's cafe, please remember to drop hashtag cash flow in the chat. And remember that we are dropping the hammer on cash flow problems so you can build things that matter. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.